You just paid $80 for a handful of 2x4s, and half of them were twisted like a pretzel before you even got them into the truck. And the ones that looked straight at the store, give them a week in your garage. Lumber is getting more expensive and worse at the same time. And if you're planning a deck, an addition, or even just fixing a fence, you're feeling it. Well, there's a new category of building material coming that's made from stuff we literally throw away, and it might fix a lot of this. Stick around because this affects the next project you build. And do me a favor, hit subscribe before we begin. I'm Jerry Davis, and after 25 years of framing, remodeling, and tearing apart other people's mistakes, I can tell you the wood we build with today is not the wood your grandfather built with. And that's the real starting point for this whole conversation. Here's what no one tells you when you're standing in that lumber aisle. The old growth boards in a 1950s house came from trees that grew slow and tight for 100 years. Pull a stud out of an old wall during a demo, and it's so dense you can barely drive a nail into it. The stuff we buy now comes from fast-growth farm trees, harvested young with wide, soft growth rings. It warps, it cups, it checks, and it rots faster. That's not me being nostalgic. That's why your brand new fence pickets look wavy after one summer. So the industry has a problem. And the interesting part is where the solution is coming from. Not better trees, trash. Let me give you the version of this you already know because it proves the concept. Composite decking. Trex and the brands like it are made from reclaimed sawdust and recycled plastic film. Grocery bags, shrink wrap, mill waste. 20 years ago, guys like me laughed at it. It was floppy, it got hot, it looked fake. Now, I put composite on probably 8 out of 10 decks I build. And here's why. A pressure-treated deck looks great the day you finish it. 2 years later, the homeowner hasn't stained it, the boards are gray and splintering, and the screws are popping. I get it. Wood is cheaper on day one. A composite deck costs maybe 40 to 60% more upfront. But here's the problem with that math. Wood decks want stain or sealer every couple of years at a few $100 a pop if you do it yourself, way more if you hire it out. Skip it, and you're replacing boards by year 8. The material made from garbage outlasts the real material, and over 15 years, it's usually the cheaper deck. That's a product made from trash that already changed construction. Most people just never noticed. Now here's where it gets bigger. The next wave isn't deck boards. It's structural. There's a company out of the University of Maryland research world called Invent Wood, making something they call Superwood. They take ordinary wood, partially dissolve the lignin, that's the natural glue that stiffens wood, using food-grade chemicals, then compress it under heat until the cell structure collapses into a dense slab. What comes out is roughly 10x stronger than regular wood, with a strength-to-weight ratio better than steel. It's so dense that bugs and fungus basically can't get a foothold. And it scores at the top of standard fire resistance tests. And the direction this whole category is heading, including researchers at places like Michigan Tech working on similar biomaterials, is making these products out of wood chips, sawdust, and mill scraps. The stuff that currently gets burned or buried. Construction and demolition wood is one of the biggest things in our landfills. At some recycling facilities, it's around 40% of what comes through the gate. We are throwing away the raw material for the strongest building product most of us have ever seen. Think about what that means in a real house, not a press release. A material stronger than steel by weight that doesn't rot, doesn't feed termites, and doesn't burn easily. Termite damage alone costs American homeowners billions every year. And I've personally crawled under houses where you could push a screwdriver through the sill plate like it was cake. Rot at the deck ledger. That's the board that attaches your deck to the house, is one of the most common reasons decks fail, and deck failures hurt people. If the sill plates, ledgers, and posts of the future shrug off water and insects, that's not a gimmick. That's fewer emergency calls to guys like me. But, And you knew there was a but. Let me put my contractor hat on, because this is where people mess up with every new material. And I've watched it happen over and over. First problem, being an early adopter on structural components. Look, I get it. New material, great story, saves the planet. But your house has to pass inspection. And your building inspector does not care about a TechCrunch article. Before any product goes into a load-bearing wall in your home, ask your contractor one question. Does it have a code evaluation report, an ICC-ES report or equivalent, that your local jurisdiction accepts? If the answer is a shrug, it goes in the fence, not the frame. This is the exact conversation to have before the contract is signed, not after the framing package shows up. Second problem, installation. Every engineered product lives or dies by fasteners and details. Composite decking taught us this the hard way. People installed it with the same gapping and screws as wood, and then wondered why it buckled in July. Dense, engineered materials expand differently, cut differently, and some of them will eat saw blades and laugh at a framing nailer. If your installer has never touched the product, you are paying for his education. Ask him straight up, have you installed this before? And did you read the manufacturer's spec sheet? If he gets offended, that tells you something too. Third, the warranty trap. This one drives me nuts. A 25-year warranty on a new product from a company that's been around for 5 years is a promise, not a guarantee. It doesn't mean skip the product. It means don't pay a premium based entirely on that number. And keep every receipt and every installation photo, because warranty claims get denied over installation errors constantly. Now, let's talk about the part most homeowners forget, where to actually use this stuff first. Here's a pro tip. New materials earn their keep in the abuse zones. Deck boards, exterior trim, and fascia. The boards that rot first on every house in America. Fence posts at grade. Window sills that face the weather. Sill plates if it's code approved in your area. These are the spots where regular wood fails in 5 to 10 years. So the math on a tougher material actually works. Where I would not spend the money. Interior framing that stays dry behind drywall for 50 years. A regular kiln-dried stud in a dry wall cavity is fine. Don't get me wrong, I love the technology, but paying steel strength prices to hold up drywall in a hallway is just burning money. And one more thing, because somebody's going to bring it up in the comments. Isn't this just fancy particle board? No. And yes, I know some of you are going to disagree. Old particle board and cheap MDF gave wastewood products a terrible reputation because they swell up like a sponge the second they see water. Anyone who's watched an IKEA cabinet bottom dissolve under a leaky sink knows exactly what I mean. The difference with this new generation is density and chemistry. The structure is collapsed and locked, so water can't wick in the same way. Same raw ingredient, completely different animal. Judge the spec sheet, not the sawdust. Here's the honest bottom line on cost, because I promised you a payoff. Right now, densified wood products cost more than lumber, and early on, they'll show up in high-end projects first. That's how every material starts, composite decking included. But lumber prices only go one direction long-term. The good trees are gone, and the feedstock for this stuff is literally waste we're paying to landfill. Within a renovation cycle, or two, I'd bet money you'll be choosing between traditional lumber and waste-based engineered products at the same lumber yard, the same way you choose between wood and composite decking. Today, the homeowners who understand the trade-offs, upfront cost versus maintenance, warranty versus track record, code approval versus hype, are going to make better calls than the ones who just grab whatever's cheapest that morning. Tell me in the comments which side you're on, real wood forever, or bring on the engineered stuff. And if you've already got composite decking or engineered trim on your house, tell me how it's holding up. Because I read those, and real-world reports beat lab numbers every time. A good building material isn't the one with the best story. It's the one that's still straight, still dry, and still doing its job 20 years after the invoice is paid. Whether it started as a tree or a pile of sawdust honestly doesn't matter. The details and the installation do. Hit like, subscribe, share this with someone who's pricing out a deck right now. I'll catch you in the next one.